Hey people, this is New Sensei. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been asked to cover a few different topics. I've been asked about what my current recurve setup is. I've been asked about what things you need to buy for a full target recurve setup. And I've been asked to demonstrate how to assemble a bow from scratch. Now, I'd like to cover all that today in one shot. Now, I can't actually demonstrate how to assemble a bow from scratch, as in getting all the stuff from the shop and then putting together. I can point out what you need to do though, so I don't want to mess up my setup. So I'm going to go through each part of my recurve setup in the first section of this video, and the second section I'll put it together. Okay, the first thing I'll go through is my riser. The riser is a win&win Inno CXT, and this is the glossy black color. The riser mostly comes as is out of the box. I do have several things attached to it already, which I don't want to remove, but when you buy yours straight from the store, you need to put these on yourself. The first thing is the rest. I'm using a Hoyt Super Rest. These are the really cheap $2 ones. I find them useful because they're great for beginners. It does the job. It feels flimsy, but they'll easily chew through thousands of arrows. And if they do break, it costs $2 to replace. Not a problem. I know some people use more expensive ones, but even if you do, I like having these as a backup, just in case they break. To put these on, what you have to do is to remove the backing tape to the rest, and then stick it on, like that. There are two holes in the riser. They're meant for your plunger. Which one you use is kind of preference. I think most people use the one close to the belly of the riser, and you stick it on there. I've also put on my clicker, for the win&win carbon clicker. There are two types of clickers usually. There's one which sticks onto the riser, and it's one which screws on. They function the same. The stickers actually stay on, so it's not a matter of whether or not they stay. I've screwed one on there. You can adjust it to suit your particular draw length, and it stays there. On this side, I've already screwed on the sight mount. Again, when you buy your riser, it doesn't come with this. It comes with your sight, which you can see over there. I use the Shibuya Ultima recurve sight. You need to mount the block on your riser first, so you use a hex wrench to screw it on. Once you screw it on, you generally leave it there. There's no need to take it off each time you put your bow together. What you do is you grab the sight and you slide it in. So you leave it here when you disassemble your bow. For the plunger, I use the Biter plunger. This is like the most expensive one you can buy. It's very good, easily adjustable, has very good options for spring tensions. This is pretty much the choice for most comparative shooters. You don't have to buy one, but that's what I have. It's a very, very good plunger. For the limbs, I've got win&win Inno EX Powers. There are two types of EX limbs. There's the EX Powers and the EX Primes. They're very similar in construction and design. The main difference is the primes have a wood core, whereas the powers have a carbon core. The difference is based on feel. I know some people prefer the smoothness of the wood core, whereas the power has a bit more punch to it. So it's a preference thing. These are 40-pound limbs, although I do have a shorter draw length, so they're not quite 40 pounds on my fingers. But that's what I use. The sight I've mentioned before, this is the Shibuya Ultima recurve sight. It comes in a sight bar, a sight block, and a sight mount, which we saw before. And I'll leave the mount screwed on. The sight is assembled very easily. It just comes on like this. And most sights have the same kind of setup. It might not be as easy to put on, but it's usually separate block, separate bar, separate mount. My bowstring isn't anything special. It's a typical 68-inch AMO fast fight string, black. I use serving thread as a knocking point. Rather than brass, because the brass knock sets they can be a bit heavy, and these ones are very light, so I use those on my bowstring. For my stabilizers, I use a set of Doinka Platinum High Mods. These are very expensive. You don't have to buy expensive stabilizers. I just chose it because I felt like it. These are very good though. You can have a lot of weight options. They're very sturdy, good stuff. So I've got the long rod and the two Platinum High Mod side rods. For my extender, I've got this suppression mount, also by Doinka. Now I admit I got this because it looked pretty cool. I kind of finished my Doinka set. My V-bar is an adjustable Doinka V-bar. Most V-bars are usually straight with a set angle, although you can adjust these, so you can put it up and down and left and right. Finally, I've got a pretty generic cartel bow stand and a Hoyt bowstringer. While we're at it, I do use Easton ACEs. These are very good carbon aluminium arrows. Not the same tier as the X10s, but very similar design, but somewhat lower price. I also use bright pink colored XS wings at the moment. Okay, with that said, let's assemble the bow. I like using my bow stand in the process because it's part of my ritual. Plus, it holds my bow so I don't have to like chuck on the ground every time I pick something up. I know a lot of people who buy the first bow don't get one bow stand, but you don't want to leave your bow on the ground. So I recommend buying one of these as part of your pack. Right, so I'm gonna grab my riser, my limbs. Let's have a look. I've got bottom and top limbs. Doesn't really matter too much, but I like doing it out of habit. So that's my upper limb, and it clicks in like that. You can see there's a pocket here, and there's a knob here. So you slide it in, and it should click in like that. Alright, next you've got the bowstring. The bowstring has loops on the end. It's usually a bigger loop and a smaller loop. Usually, not always, but usually the big loop goes on top. So you grab the big loop and you slip it over the tip of the limb and you slide down part way down the limb. You then grab the second loop and then you slip it on the edge here. Now, if you do twist your string, this is where you twist it. I do like to twist my string a few times and you slip it on the end like that. Then you grab the bowstringer. The bowstringer does come in a couple of different designs, but they're very similar in function. There's usually a soft pad and a tip protector, although you might have like two tip protectors or two soft pads, but they function very, very similarly. So you slide the soft pad over the limb and it clips on like that. Make sure it goes over the string, not under it, so the bowstringer cord goes over the top of the string. You then look at the other end, grab that, make sure it's twisted the right way, you slip this part on. Again, it might vary with your particular bowstringer. Again, make sure that the strings aren't tangled, and then you step on the bowstringer, not the bowstring, the bowstringer, and you pull up, and then slip the top loop over the edge of the limb, like that. Do check to see that the string is on the groove properly. If it's misaligned, it can come off when you shoot, which is pretty nasty. Not dangerous, but a bit of a surprise, so make sure it's on properly. Something I say you should do is to check your brace height. The string can become untwisted when you put it away, so the next time you put it on, it might be a different brace height to what you originally had. So I'm on my bow square here. I'm going to measure and make sure it's the same as what I normally do. If you're starting out, this isn't critical, but if you're doing competition style shooting, you really want to have the same setup each time. Right, while I'm at it, I'm going to put on my plunger. The plunger is pretty easy, it screws onto the side of the riser. Make sure it's the right one with the rest on it, otherwise it won't get through. These require tightening, otherwise they will rattle, and it's really annoying. The biter ones do come with a cute neon colored hex wrench. So I'm just gonna tighten it. I'm gonna slip it on and give it a bit of a squeeze. So there we go. Alright, so I'm gonna put my bow on my bow stand, hence why I made it in the first place. Really convenient, I don't have to hold my bow anymore. I'm gonna grab my extender. I'm gonna screw it on first. I know sometimes these things don't screw on properly. You need to tighten it using a hex wrench to get the right alignment, or you might use a washer. Because one of the really annoying things about archery is sometimes this kind of goes off the other way, so you have to make sure it's the same angle every time. I'm going to grab my side rods, let's screw them on. Doinker does make quick release adapters that only take a second to release. I don't see the big deal, to be honest, because it's not that long anyway. Screw it on here. It takes a moment. There you go, nice and tight. And then finally my long rod. There we go, nice and tight. Okay. Finally, we've got our sight. I already put the sight block on. Let's go to this side, and I'm gonna screw it in here. And I usually put it number 2. What you put it on, it's up to you. Make sure it's nice and tight. And there we go. That's the Target Olympic style recurve fully assembled. Hope this answers some of your questions. Now, if you already have a bow, you probably don't need to know this, but there's some of you out there who are buying one and kind of get freaked out by the complexity. Not that complex. That's how you assemble a recurve from start to finish. This is New Sensei. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. By the way, if you want to know how to disassemble a bow, watch this video backwards.